so welcome. So thanks for joining us today.
No worries.
Yeah, so give me a little bit of a rundown of your story and why you decided to join us in Fit Vibes in the program and where you were in terms of your health and your lifestyle and your fitness levels and what was going on.
Sure. So, my name is Dina. I'm 38. I've struggled with my weight my whole life. And I guess I'm learning how to re-identify myself because that's my first go-to is like, I always feel like it's something that's very obvious, that I, stand out as someone that's overweight, but it's amazing that, what our own perception is. Because oddly enough, I've even had some girl, and I was like, this girl must be crazy. She asked me if I was a personal trainer, and I'm
Wow.
like, what? I'm
Awesome.
like, what would make you ask that? She's like, oh, you're always in training clothes, and I was like, oh, okay. So I'm like, okay, maybe some of it's in my head too, because it's been a lifelong thing of trying to look after myself. And I think the biggest shock is when people see me that haven't seen me for a few years, and they're like, oh wow, you've changed, like you've transformed. And I feel like I've got such a long way to go, and it's so slow moving that you don't see it every day. It's only when you look back. And it's that whole thing, like all the girlfriends that I always talk about, old photos you see of yourself and you're like, wow, look how good I looked, but I hated myself then. So much of it is mental.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think it seems to be around this time in people's lives where, it's always in the mid-30s where, I don't know, everyone just starts journeying on, what am I doing here and what is my purpose? And so I think that's basically, the main cause for the holistic, view, like everything spiritually, mentally, physically. But growing up, I always had, weight issues and complexes. And I think it's just low self-esteem, growing up in a dysfunctional, toxic family. Now that you start to learn and understand that, not having good values instilled, not being educated, not being encouraged. So you don't realize how far back it goes, until you kind of open Pandora's box, I guess. So that's been a big, long learning curve of, like it's gone as far as getting into therapy. I mentioned to you I was in therapy and finding out that I had, capital T trauma, which I would never have known anything like that or assumed it until I started looking into it. So I'm sure along with all of that, there'll be, things like anxiety, body dysmorphia, like so much of it that, I don't know, it's just not readily available information, which is unfortunate from a young age. I'm very passionate about teaching our next generation from such a holistic point of view. I feel like the school systems are so focused on just, educating, in such a fashion that's not holistic. Like, and I hear and see that there are a lot more, programs out there now, but it's not just about that, and it's not just about getting into uni. And you could be, the richest person and then have low self-esteem, and just life is not going to be worth it. And, even understanding, because I come from a religious background, but even being a bit more open-minded, that there are so many different ways, and there are different things out there like therapy and, mindfulness and meditation, like all of that stuff. So even that breaking out of that mold that we've just been, put in from nature versus nurture kind of stuff. So it's been like kind of mind-blowing few years.
Yeah,
Um,
that's awesome. And it feels like it's something that it's kind of culminated. It's like it's kind of had to come to this point where it's like now you're ready to really
yeah,
explore, what is that about, and
yeah,
not ready to settle for, okay, well, this is just who I am. I'm just someone who, isn't healthy or is that overweight person or whatever, which is easy to do, right? You're like, well, that's just who I am and that's just how I've
yeah,
always been. And I think a lot of women can fall into that trap of going, that's just my destiny and that's just my identity and I just have to deal with that, right? So
yeah.
I love the fact that you've actually realized that no, it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to stay that way, right?
That's it. Yeah. So coming across something like Fit Vibes. So again, lifelong yo-yo dieter, trying everything out there. And I remember, was it Laura that I
Yes,
would have
Laura,
had
yeah.
a call with. Yeah. So I don't know when or how. I actually don't have consciousness of doing this, but she's given me a call and I'm like, oh my gosh, what have I clicked on? Or I vaguely remember watching a video, but it was so late at night because, like I just couldn't sleep that night. And she was just like, well, you have clicked on this and, I'm giving you a call. I just want to have a chat. Um, and she was just, she was speaking my language basically. And she could hear that, that like many people out there, there's just been this just lifelong search basically of just wanting to figure this out once and for all.
Yeah. Do you mean in terms of like just being healthy and just getting control of that again? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing, just feeling in control, and feeling like you can take the reins on your health and overall well-being.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I remember when you first joined, your like excitement was around, oh my gosh, like, can I actually eat this food? Like, because it feels like for me, like a lot of women again are stuck in that sort of yo-yo mentality of it has to be restricting like all the foods that you like, it has to be, starving yourself, it has to be really extreme and drastic. And I think it's a real eye-opener when you realize that to do it in a way that's sustainable and long term, it's not the case. Hey, like it's kind of, I feel like it's like this, that's the big lie that we've been told, that has to be what happens to be able to.
And it's just become my norm now. I'd even forgotten. Now you're taking me back to it. I remember I was in such a hopeless, desperate place, and I'd message. I don't remember if you saw that, and I was like, "This is going to sound so over the top," but I'm like, "I saw you got to eat mangoes and cream or something," and I cried. I literally tears. I was like, "She's eating mangoes and cream." Like I would never dream of that. I remember last time I tasted bread, let alone ate cream and mangoes. Like I was just like, what? And you're like, oh yeah, it's my norm. And I'm like, oh my God, like what is going on? Like I actually shed tears and I was like, far out. Like, there was like just that glimmer of hope because everything was just so hopeless. And I was honestly at this point, and it's such a time that, the universe knows about timing, because I was at this point where I was like, I am approaching 40 and I am done. Like, I think I'm just going to just let myself go and do whatever. I was exhausted. I was cranky. I was trying to intermittent fast. And then I was plateauing, like nothing, like absolutely nothing, Edwina. And I was just like, this is ridiculous. And then, just it was like, a utopia, getting to just even look through the plans. And I'm like, this cannot be for real. But I'm like, I've tried everything else and I was ready to give up. It's not even like I've got a few more options. There was just nothing else anymore. And it was just the perfect timing, honestly. And I think what was really captivating though is the holistic approach that you guys have. You're not just like, here's some food, here's some exercise, off you go. It was like, we're here to support you, we're here to do mindfulness, and we're going to stick by you and really help you through. And I remember my first question was like, oh, what happens? Because as it was, 6 months felt like it was going to be long, but in the same breath I've gone to Laura, like, what happens after 6 months? Am I out on my own? And she's like, no, but in 6 months you're going to have a different mentality. And I didn't believe her. I was just like, okay, if you say so. Because I've done diet, I've done it all. And after the time, it just all goes back. But even in this time, and it's been really inconsistent for me personally, but I've never felt like I failed. That's it. Next thing. It's never been one time where I've gone, okay, tried that one, tried Fit Vibes. All right, I'm done with it. I failed at it. It's always been like, okay, picking up where I left off. Okay, let's try and make one smart decision today, like you've suggested. And that has been so encouraging, because then I just feel like I'm still on a journey rather than you've just failed. You missed a step, you've messed it all up. Because a lot of the diets are like that. If you stray the tiniest bit, you're stuffed, So
that's exactly right. And it's more so learning the principles, isn't it, of health, rather than just being, this is like the box that you have to be in, and it has to be perfect and you can't stray from that. Because again, that's like someone else telling you that's the rules, right? You need to make your own rules. You need to be able to go,
Yeah,
well, that doesn't work for me. That might work for my friend or someone else in the program, or, you know,
so
someone
true.
else
Yeah.
that I know, but that personally doesn't work for me and my beliefs, what I like, you know, my routine, my schedule, all that sort of stuff. So that's why I feel like it's so important to have that. You've got the overarching principles, but then you take that and use it for what's going to work for you, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the great thing about this program, the flexibility of it. And never at one point, like even, you know, I remember not working out for a week just because mentally I couldn't handle it. And I was like, oh, great, I've messed that up. And I was like, I'm never going to feel like working out again now because I've never liked working out, except when as instructed by you guys, just give yourself a break. Don't be so hard on yourself. And I, out of sight, out of mind. And then I remember waking up one Monday being like, oh my God, I can't wait to work out. And I was like, what? Like, that's not me.
Yeah.
That wouldn't in my whole life, you know, it's like pulling teeth. But I was excited to pick up my weights again and do my workout. And I was like, what? Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. And it's such a
Yeah.
different mentality when you have that whole, like, you feel like you have to do something as opposed to like, I get to work out, like I get to move my body, I get to train. Like it is, like you said, it's such a perception shift that you really have to make it a long-term thing. Hey, so yeah. And I know physically, like you've noticed you know, changes, but like you said, probably not so much things that you've noticed, but just like you said, when you see your friends and like, wow, you look different, like you look good, like what are you doing? Hey, like that's really encouraging to know that, like, yeah, you know, you might not have been perfect or consistent as what you perceive, but you know that by just doing those small things, even if it is just, you know, eating better today than what you did last week or yesterday, or training this week when you didn't train last week, all of those things are having that cumulative effect. Hey, and even though sometimes you don't notice them,
so much.
It's working, right? So
it's amazing. And I've always had a love-hate relationship with food, where I'm a massive foodie. But again, not having the education around it, whether it, you know, and then trying to punish yourself, you know, all of that. So it's always been and I came to a point where I was afraid to eat, you know. So having that kind of relationship, and you know, you have to eat to get better, like, you know, in your head that is what makes sense, but to actually do it, like, and I never would have said, but I, you know, quite possibly must have had some type of food disorder where I was petrified. And I'd seen as part of a mental health thing, I'd seen a nutritionist. She was actually a sports physiologist, and she was just like, yeah, this is not good, like, you know. And she was able to just give some advice as to, you're gonna have to get in. But I knew that it would mean that initially that the weight would come on, but I didn't have this same kind of support in the way that with Fit Vibes, where you guys were like, don't look at the weights. Yes, this is what is going to happen, but it's meant to be because your body's healing itself from the inside. All I saw is all this work I've done to keep my weight low, and then it's going to come out. So I'm undoing all of it. I'm like, that's all I have to hold on to is a couple of numbers on a scale. You know, if it moved even just one up, I would be freaking out and trying to figure out what to do. But then just letting it all go and understanding I'm healing myself from the inside, that has been healing for me, just to do that and just let it go. Yeah. And I think that is even what's changed my demeanor. And I reckon if my husband was here, he could attest to, you know, like, I'm just a happier, more peaceful person. Like, I'm not freaking out all the time. And
and it really just goes to show of that whole, yes, like obviously you want the physical transformation, but regardless of that, it's like your hormones are balanced now, so you're happier, you're getting fuel for your body, you've got more energy in your body, so yes, you're going to be, you know, more energetic, feeling happier, feeling healthier. So it's not, like you said, it's not just the I want to look good, right? It's, you know, like, yes, that's a bonus, but it's everything else, because as a mom, you know, like, you don't want to be like yelling at your kids because you're cranky and you're triggered, or you don't want to be like, you know, snapping at your husband because, you know, you're hungry. But we don't know that, right? We just think, oh, that's just what it's what we're like. That's just, you know, we don't have control over that. But I think once you start to feel the difference that you can have internally into like your moods and your, you know, the way that you are in terms of your state of mind and your state of being, like you're like, wow, like this is me changing. You start to really see that shift as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%, to the point where I was like seeing the doctor about my moods. I thought it was PMS. It's not. It's because I was starving. I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
so hungry.
Yeah.
And
And it's
I
really
had
simple when you think about
this
that, isn't it?
because now I'm fine. Like I don't have to take, St. John Awards or whatever, all of this vitamin B6. Like it's good to have it there, but I was trying to treat, these symptoms rather than looking directly at the problem.
Yeah.
Which is what our society does. And that, like, these things make me very passionate. I think for as long as I can remember, I was like, I want to unlock this secret and then help other people, for crying out loud. Like I know everyone in my circle that struggles with this, so it's not just about doing it for me and then keeping it a secret. And that's what I was saying about Fit Vibes. I'm like, you'll always have an advocate in me,
Yeah, I
because
love that.
people will want to know, and they know that I've been on a journey. They've seen me yo-yo diet, they've seen me crash and burn, so it's just so exciting. And already there's people that I've spoken to, and I've had other friends, and a lot of the girls talk about this. Oh yeah, my sister's doing pills and she's already crashed and burned, but I'm still on my Fit Vibes journey. So I've got friends along the way that are still, and they'll still be asking me as well, like, oh, you still doing that thing? Because I don't need to whinge about it. I don't, I'm just going along, cruising
Yeah.
along, doing it.
Yeah, exactly. And it just becomes, it's like your life and it's easy and it's not a thing, right? But whereas like if you're starving yourself and you're taking pills, it's like this thing and you want everyone to know about it because you're suffering. It's like everyone needs to know how miserable I am.
Yes, someone else. Yeah, like you
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
do anything. You're so restricted. I can't go out. But whereas, yeah, this is that when people touch base, like, you still doing it? I'm like, yeah, still doing it. Still got the support group. It's just real slow burn, and I'm happy for it to be that way. I'm happier. And then they're like, oh, good. I'm glad you found your thing. So as it progresses and then the results really kick in, because I'm sure that there comes a point where this just all just gels and just starts just taking off, really.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
So
And that's it. It's such, like you said, it's such a journey from going from eating very little food, starving yourself, being scared of food, having that real sort of, scarcity mindset around, not being able to eat, to having that journey. Like, yeah, and you're right. Like sometimes, and I'll say this to the ladies all the time, like your weight probably will go up, and it probably will seem like it's, getting worse before it's getting better. But long term, that's what you have to do. Like, what's the alternative? Like, do you keep eating less and less food until you get to the point where you just, drinking water, you're not eating anything? It's like where you can't go from there, right? So, when you get to a point where you can eat a good amount of food, your body's functioning, you're feeling good, like you've got energy to train. And that's really probably why that, you're excited to train as well. Like when you have no energy, the last thing you feel like doing is burning more energy that you're trying to conserve because you're not eating food.
Yeah.
Of course, like you're not going to want to exercise and not feel like moving your body, right? You want to conserve all the energy you can. Whereas when you're well fed and you're nourished and you're well, you're eating really well, it's like, yeah, you feel like you've got the energy to and the capacity to be able to do that. So yeah.
And one big takeaway for me, Edwina, was just sitting here and having the reassurance and being told by you guys, make sure you eat before you work out. And I'm like, what? Like, it's almost like, like we'd punish ourselves. We're so punitive with the type of exercise we do and the regimes that we have. And like, for me, it was such a punitive mentality. Like, you don't get to eat until you work out, and even after you work out, you didn't even get to eat anything nice. Like, there's nothing to look forward to. Whereas I look at the menu that we have and the things that I get to enjoy, like it was such a luxury for me. Like, I get to have 2 eggs. Are you kidding me? I'd be lucky if I could have egg whites, Like,
yeah, that's right.
You wake up looking forward to nourishing yourself, then you're energized and you're like, good, like I want to work out, I want to build my, like, it's not nothing I've ever done, honestly. It's and it's all really attainable, because I was the kind of person that always grew up feeling like I'm not fit enough. I can't keep up with everyone else. I can't do that. No, I can't lift that. Like, everything was I can't. Whereas there's not one time, and there's some weird, hard things that you put on that thing to do, right? Like those dips, I've never been good at it, but I've never questioned it, because everything else you've given me to do, I've been able to do. So even doing these tricep dips, I hate doing, and it's very hard for me to do, I don't go, oh no, I can't do that, I'm not doing it. The only time I questioned it was because my ankle, and I was like, I don't think my weight I can't take my weight. But I've never like been like, oh, I'll just do one and pretend I did them, or like I want to do what's best for me.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it's not like,
That's
because again, like you're the only one that's going to know that you're
yeah,
cheating yourself, right? Like it's not going to,
yeah,
it doesn't affect me in any way that, you haven't done them. It's you that's going to know
yeah,
that it's the result. And I love that, you realize that it's only
yeah,
you that's, that's missing out if you don't, right? And the good thing is, like, yeah, you always sort of sung out and you're like, hey, that doesn't, work for me with my ankle. It's like, right, cool, here's an alternative. Like there's always a solution. And I really think that that's such a big takeaway that ladies can have as well, is just knowing that, having that shift in mindset of going, this is a problem, I can't do it, or this is a problem, it's not going to work for me, to go, okay, well, this is a challenge, but I'm going to look for a solution. And if I can't come up with one, you've got that, help to be able to do that. So there's always a way, right? So,
yes,
and I think even just going through that yourself and just knowing that and understanding that and experiencing that is really powerful, because then that just helps in so many other areas too, right?
yeah,
Like it's just, you just start to shift from going, oh, well, that happened and I'm a victim and I'm too busy and whatever. And it's like, well, actually,
yeah,
no, that's,
yeah. You take ownership. Yeah, you have to take
yeah,
ownership.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, because I remember there was a lot of like, online workouts that I'd do, and I was kind of getting into them, enjoying them. And then coming to Trainerize, it's very different. Like the onus is all on you. Like there's a video example, but that's it. There's no, you don't log on, and you're not accountable in the sense, like you're not watching me. You're like, you're going to pay for the program, but all the onus is on you. And I remember going, I'm going to message you and tell you, oh, can you do these online Zoom things where we all work out together? And then the more I've done it, the more I'm like, no, I want to take ownership. I don't want to be like, I don't want to disappoint Edwina because she's waiting for me on the Zoom, But at first, because that was my mentality, I used to say, yes, I'm going to jump on, and then they'd kind of tick you off basically and say, yeah, you've turned up. And if you don't turn up, you feel really bad, but not for yourself, for the person. I never felt bad that I missed a workout. I felt bad that I let the person
because you've left me hanging. Yeah.
Whereas now it's like, I feel bad for me if I don't work out for myself. And I was like, well, yeah, no, not questioning Edwina and her methods.
But, and that's exactly right. And it's such a good point you make, because by me doing that, it doesn't teach you to take self-responsibility. So when you leave the program, you're like, oh, I don't have Ed there anymore, so I'm just not going to do it. Like, again, that doesn't do you any favors, right?
Yeah, that's amazing that you would even do that, because it would be quite easy for you to hook people in from a business strategy and make them have to depend on you. So when I come across people like you, and my therapist is very much the same too, he's very much like, I'm giving you the tools and then get out. Like, I don't want you here for years. I want to help you heal and then be confident in yourself in how to do this. So I think that's what the biggest standout for Fit Vibes is. This is all about, and even Laura was like, no, 6 months and we're sending you on your way. You're going to be okay. We're here if you need, but you won't need us. And I was just like, what? Like, that's not how it usually is. Usually, you're hooked to a gym membership and you can never let go. You can never leave. Whereas I've been able to start this at home, even do it through lockdown, have the option of joining a gym when I'm feeling confident enough to, I need to, because, it's like that. Yeah. That's honestly not like anything else.
Yeah, that's it. And that's what some ladies say, like, we, obviously we offer that support, like, jump on Zoom call and do that sort of stuff. But I'm like, if you expect me to be like calling you every day or checking up on you, like, yes, we get you to check in. But again, I don't want you to feel like once you leave this program, that motivation that you were getting from me is not there anymore. Like, you got to find it inside of yourself. Like, where's that motivation coming from within you, right? Like, if you have to rely on somebody else, again, that's victim mentality. It's like, well, that person's not there, then I can't do it myself. It's like, well, actually you can. You have to learn where that fire comes from inside of you first, because
that's amazing.
Yeah, like it's such a, it's more of a, we want to teach you to fish, so that you can go fish rather than us catch the fish for you and feed you, right? Because again, that's
good.
Yeah, so that's really,
is that very intentional on your part?
Absolutely,
you
yeah.
model your program that way. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's, again, like, we want to support you and, reach out, send messages, talk to us as much as you want. But the moment that you rely on, whether it's me or whether it's somebody else, to be able to be like, okay, well, there's no Zoom call to do a workout, I'm not going to work out, right? It's like, well, we want to teach you, and we do. You see in the program, how do you work out your own schedule? Like, do your planning, do that organization, have that for yourself, so that that's coming from you rather than me riding your bum all the time and being like, hey, like, what are you doing? And of course, if there's ladies that, are perhaps falling behind or they're not doing the thing, we're going to be sort of reaching out and saying, like, what's going on? Do you need help? How can we get you started? But I really am such a big believer in, you are the one that creates the results. You have to be the one that creates the motivation, the drive from within you, because otherwise, where does that leave you in the end? And if I'm
really, that sets you guys apart, because everything else, Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, you're reliant on their consultancy, and that's how they hook you and keep you there. And you see time and time again, these people put their faces on that program and then they go backwards, and it's in the public eye, so it's sad for them. But yeah, it's so definitely, you guys are like the complete opposite. And that is amazing.
And it's really why we, with even the nutrition, we start you off with, we just show you, okay, this is what you can do, right? But by the end of the program, we want you to have the knowledge to be able to understand it enough to go, okay, cool, like, I know how to keep going without, or what happens when I don't want to follow that meal plan anymore, or what happens when I don't want to just, intermittent fast anymore. Like, you don't have knowledge then past that. And that's really what, and I guess that's kind of from my experience, like, I'm a bit like you, like, I was exactly where you were, like, right, with the whole yo-yo dieting, doing all the fasting, the keto, the, all the pills, the shakes, all that stuff. And you're right, like, once you do kind of work out, the secret, that's not really a secret, it's just really common sense, you do want to share that, right? And I think that's sort of, I guess, the evolving of the program over, the couple of years that we've been going, is just really understanding that and coaching, coaching people rather than being a cheerleader or a person that's just, dragging you along or kicking you on the bum, got that whip out. Like, it's, to me, that's, if you wanted to do that, like, go do a PT or something, which, PTs are great. And you can, so there's some ladies in the program that still do personal training, and that, if that's really what you feel like is, what helps you to, to get to the gym or whatever, that's really great. But you have to realize that that's part of what works for you. Again, it's like, you could be someone completely different to, the next person who likes to go, yeah, cool, I'm still in the program, I'm still going to do the training that you suggest, but, I really like to have that PT there because maybe I'm, not so confident with the lifting, or it's just, they get me to the gym and that's the time that I go. So you have to really look at what's going to make sure that I do what I need to do, right? Because that's the biggest thing. It's one thing to know what to do, but it's how can you consistently take the action. And if you can really understand your psyche, I guess, of what you need and what really helps you and drives you, then that's great. So it's really about finding that and just really, uncovering that and just knowing that, like, yes, we're here to support you and help you. But ultimately that self-discovery is happening from
so good. So it's so empowering just to get that power back, because I think that, if anything, is what I've been on search of. Like, how do I get that power back? How do I not have to fall into, the same rat race or the same, hamster wheel and be told this is the only way to do it? And I think that's why I've always been like so anti-gyms. I'm like, I don't want the gym to own me, because my personality is just different to that. Like, some people like that routine and that, but I want to take onus and have control of it. So I've really found that by doing Fit Vibes.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's it. Like, some ladies will come in and they're like, yeah, I'm at the gym and I love going to the gym. I'm like, sweet, here's a great gym plan. Or some ladies are like, I hate the gym, or it's too hard for my kids, whatever the reason is. Cool, here's a home program. And you can get awesome results from either, right? It's just really just about understanding. It's not about just doing random exercise for the sake of just doing it. Like, if you've got a plan that's structured, you've got that progression, it's
Yes.
really going to be a lot easier to be able to do, you know, what you need
Yeah.
to do and get those results, rather than doing random stuff, going, is this actually working, doubting yourself. And then again, you don't have that real confidence in what you're doing. Like, whereas I feel like when you've got that structure, you like, you know that, yeah, okay, cool, this is the plan, I can just follow it. Yes, I might have missed a week, but I can pick it back up again. But you have that confidence in knowing that, you know, what is set for you is going to be something that's, you know, effective.
That has
You know?
been, yeah, that's
Yeah.
been so helpful. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Because I think that's been the other thing with what actual workout do I do? Like, you just assume, well, if I do this thing on Zoom every day, that, or, you know, I'll just click a YouTube. And it's been so ineffective. Whereas I've seen results so quickly with the workout plans that you guys have done.
Yeah.
And like you talk about with cardio, not pushing yourself, recovering, giving yourself time to recover. And again, changing that mentality of like, okay, so I did, you know, weights yesterday, so today I have to go do some hardcore cardio. It's like, no. And just, you know, like, just trusting the program. So where it says rest, just rest. Like,
Yes.
you know, if it's the light walk, but just trust in it, trust in the process.
Yeah.
And give it time.
Yeah.
And enjoy it. You're not like, oh God, like I did, you know, cardio, so now I've got to do more weights. It's not like that. It's like, okay, yeah, my body's rested and it's ready. I'm not so sore and I can't, you know, like I can't lift it, anything. And I think there was only one day where I got really sore like that. And I was even worried about it because I almost felt a bit good. I was like, oh, it's nice. Like, it's nice to get a bit sore.
Yeah.
But I wasn't like, oh no, how am I going to do my next workout? Because I knew I was going to recover. I was going to eat and nourish my body.
Awesome.
So
And it's
yeah,
that's a big shift. Yeah. And
huge.
a lot of people, yeah, it's not more is better, it's better is better, right? You've got to, yeah.
So
And as mums, like, it's hard to do more, right? It's, you know, it's got to be something that, you know, it's not, we don't have time to, you know, spend every day for hours in the gym. Like, some ladies can, if they don't have kids, and that's their thing, and that's great. But, you know, you're homeschooling, you've got, you know, kids, you've got family to look after. It's realistically, it's, you know, it doesn't work anyway. So that's really good. So what would you say in terms of perhaps ladies that are thinking about joining the program, or perhaps, you know, have been thinking about it for a little while but not quite ready to dive in yet? What would your advice be to them?
I would say you got to seize the day. Like, now is the time. I will always be so grateful to Laura, who was able to pick up on the fact that this was something that I was ready to do, and I was afraid, and I was kind of holding myself back. And she was so lovely on the phone with me and just encouraged me to love myself enough, you know. So actually my message would be, love yourself enough to do this.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that is so, like, that just gives me goosebumps to think that. Exactly. It's like you loving yourself enough to give yourself this gift of looking after yourself, nourishing your body, moving your body, being healthy, being happy, doing all that sort of stuff to ultimately love yourself. And then once you do that, that shines into everything else that you do with your family, with, you know, your life in general, like all your relationships, whether that be work, personal relationships, or whatever. Like, when you feel good about yourself, you give so much more of yourself to those other people as well. And it's just, I just think it's so important. And I really, you know, give you credit for realizing that and really jumping in and doing that, because it's not easy. Like, it can be scary, and it, especially, like, you know, someone like yourself who has tried a lot of things, right? We have it in our mind that, how's this time going to be different? Like, what's, you know, and it comes down to self-belief, right? Of just believing something different, like, actually, I can succeed, you know, and I can be successful, and I can love myself, and I can be happy with myself, and be content with my journey, and knowing that this is a journey too, not just going, well, I didn't lose 10 kilos in the first 2 weeks, so I failed, right? It's not about that at all. It's about understanding that this is a journey for health and for healing, and for, like you said at the start, physical, mental, spiritual, all that stuff.
All of it. Yeah. And I'll always be so grateful to have come across something like this. And it is something that will be my lifestyle, because they always say that, like, you know, it's a lifestyle. But I'm like, how could keto be my lifestyle? How could intermittent fasting be my lifestyle? I was like, I'm hearing it's my lifestyle, but I'm like, it's not sustainable. So then I was like, I failed and I can't do it. So do I give up? Whereas Fit Vibes it 100% can be my lifestyle.
Yeah, I love that. And that's exactly what we want. And like you said, it can be like one of those terms that you kind of just throw out there and go, oh, it's, a sustainable lifestyle, but it really seriously is. And, that's really what we want for you to achieve and for all the ways to achieve. So that's really awesome. So,
Yeah.
so well done. I just really appreciate you for actually believing in yourself and giving yourself that real time and that real priority to make this change for yourself and for all of the people that you affect by doing this as well.
100%. Yeah. And that's it. And we're really about, both hubby and I are really about, building a new legacy, and not repeating, mistakes of the past. So this is such a great place to start, and we've already been able to educate our children, and in such a fun, loving way. Like it's not again in a disciplinarian way. It's lifestyle, so they don't know any difference. For them, it's not. They don't have to change habits. This is their life. Movement, eating healthy, prioritizing, making your body feel good, and being able to explain it that way. It's so easy for them, And I'm like, that's all I've ever wanted, is a healthy family, and to carry that on, to educate them from a young age, so it's just normal to them.
Yeah, so they don't have the same struggles that you've had for so long, and that's such a gift. Like, to me, that's the best gift you could ever give your kids.
100%.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. I love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing. It's just been awesome, and you've been such a great client, and I just appreciate you so much, just for, like I said, just making this commitment to yourself. So well done.
Thank you so much, Ed.
Awesome.
Thanks.
No worries. No worries at all. It was great to chat to you. So take care, all the best, and I will talk to you very soon, hey?
Take care.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye, Dina.
Okay, cheers. Bye.